So, the story kicks off by dropping some truth bombs, telling us that schools are not just for education, they are basically a whole mini society all on their own. And honestly, it makes sense, right? With all the cliques, unspoken rules, and power struggles, it is pretty much a reflection of the real world. Because at the end of the day, humans are social animals, constantly craving that sense of belonging and validation. This need for acceptance is seriously amplified when you are a teenager, which can get super intense. Our main guy, Anran, though he is built different, he just wants to be left alone to focus on his studies, totally uninterested in joining any of these social circles. But this vibe of wanting to be alone quickly turned him into an outcast in the eyes of everyone else. And, as you can probably guess, that independence ended up drawing some serious hostility from the insiders, the popular kids, creating what we call school bullying. Just like that, Anran was blindsided, getting smashed in the head with a soda can. Ouch. The main bully, a buzzcut dude, gave a super fake apology, all like, "Oops, my hand slipped. Are you okay?" But then, he muttered how boring it was that Anran did not even scream. What a psycho. His crew then just strolled off, casually reminding each other about PE class, leaving Anran there. A girl even laughed, but Anran, seeing the soda can on the ground, just knew that even if he tried to fight back, his physique gave him zero chance of winning. He figured they would not dare go too far on campus anyway, so he just had to endure it. Just 2 more years of this, he thought, and he could finally escape these scumbags. The bullying quickly escalated to the locker room, where Anran was forced to kneel while 2 guys casually smoked, and the main bully held his collar, mockingly asking how many times he'd been hit. He could not believe Anran had not made a single sound, saying his hand hurt from all the slapping. "You are pretty stubborn, are not you?" he sneered, looking down at our beaten protagonist. Then, he viciously kicked Anran into a locker. Anran finally let out a pained, spitting out blood. The bully just laughed, gloating that he finally heard a peep out of him. Total psychopath. The buzzcut bully then revealed his grand plan, saying he wanted to be friends at the start because Anran's dad was the head of Baihao Group, which, of course, meant their families. Companies were business partners, a total power play. He then got all condescending, mocking Anran for turning down an invite to his family's bar. Because, get this, Anran had the audacity to say he had to go home and study. The bully yanked his hair, forcing Anran to look at him. He then smirked, telling Anran to open his mouth wide because they now had plenty of time to play. Oh, this is getting dark. He even forced Anran to confirm they were friends now. Total mind games. But through all the tears and pain, Anran just kept repeating, "Just endure it for 2 more years. Just 2 more years." The bully then twisted the knife, asking if Anran was going to tattle to the teacher again. He flexed hard, reminding Anran that his dad was on the school board, making him untouchable, and warned that if Anran did not greet him next time, he'd be dead meat. Then came the humiliating command, "Get down on your knees." Lying there on the ground, Anran thought that the teacher's inaction was one thing, but his family's indifference was what truly crushed his spirit. His face a mess of tears and snot. He wept, heartbroken by the coldness from his own kin. A flashback shows Anran's dad, a tough-looking middle-aged man, telling a younger Anran not to cry, but to hit back hard, promising to handle all the consequences. He sternly warned Anran never to mention transferring schools again, right before a butler announced dinner. Back in the present, a butler greeted Anran as young master at the school gate, seeing him battered and bruised. His face was swollen, glasses cracked, and teeth clenched in silent defiance. The butler, looking genuinely concerned, gently offered him spare glasses, worried what the boss, his dad, would say if he saw Anran like this. Overwhelmed, Anran suddenly bolted, leaving the bewildered butler calling out "Young master?" In surprise, he sped down the street, past a red motorcycle that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Anran kept running, his mind racing, as the motorcycle's wheel ominously spun in the foreground. Meanwhile, the butler was frantically searching, practically begging Anran to come out, terrified the boss would fire him if he did not bring him home. Anran, panting and in pain, questioned why his dad had been so cold ever since his mom left. And why on earth did he send him to this garbage school filled with rich, spoiled brats? Was it really just to toughen him up? He deeply doubted it. Clenching his jaw, Anran declared he was running away from home this time, determined to see how his dad would react. First things first, Anran needed to find a place to stay. But as he turned down a deserted alley, his blood ran cold. The buzzcut bully was sitting on his red motorcycle, waiting. Anran's eyes widened in sheer terror. The bully, with a smug, mocking smile, casually asked if Anran needed a ride home. But Anran just blasted past him, leaving the bully utterly confused. He knew the bully held back slightly at school, but out here, off campus, he'd be seriously cooked if he got caught. Then, a glimmer of hope. Anran spotted a guardrail ahead, thinking, perfect. He mentally calculated that if he jumped over it, the bully's motorcycle would not be able to follow. So, he leaped, soaring over the guardrail with a burst of adrenaline. But the landing was anything but graceful. He crashed hard onto the rough grass. He then tumbled, completely out of control, down a steep, grassy slope, letting out a panicked cry. Anran finally lay motionless, face down on the ground, likely knocked out cold, his broken glasses still on his bruised face. Anran's eyes fluttered open just as he heard an ominous rumble. It was the buzzcut bully, who strolled up, casually asking why he was running and if he was disrespecting him again. The bully, an absolute savage, stomped on Anran's head, reminding him, "I told you, you are dead meat if you do not greet me." He then mused about how to punish Anran, even suggesting they take a friendly photo since they were classmates. Talk about twisted. Then, the ultimate humiliation. He ordered Anran to get up and strip. He openly planned to post the photos in the class group chat for a laugh, while Anran, shattered, wondered if he could truly endure it for 2 more years anymore. But something snapped. Anran screamed, "No!" and, with a desperate surge of adrenaline, kicked the bully's leg, sending him sprawling to the ground. The buzzcut bully let out a pained "ugh" as he hit the dirt. He glared at Anran, teeth clenched, calling him a bastard. But then, sitting up, he dismissed Anran as a coward, assuming he'd run away like before. Anran, however, was not running. He picked up a rock, realizing the bully was just a student, and alone at that. With a weapon in his hand, Anran felt a sudden, fierce determination. He believed he actually had a chance of winning against him while he was barehanded. Now that is some main character energy. The buzzcut bully just smirked, saying, "That is more like it. You have to fight back to be a real man." He then completely dismissed Anran, challenging him to aim right for his head, confident he would not dare. Anran, jaw clenched, prepared for his desperate attack. He wound up and swung the rock with all his might. But the bully just effortlessly dodged, simply saying, "Too slow," before landing a brutal punch to Anran's gut. Anran was sent flying backward, his glasses shattering in midair from the impact. Bang. The bully stood over him, flexing hard, revealing he was a member of the boxing club and that 10 cowards like Anran would not even be a match for him. Lying there, spitting blood, Anran was utterly shocked. He had no idea his tormentor was part of the notorious boxing club. "This is it," he thought, looking up at the desolate sunset sky. "Guess I will just die." The bully, with a sickening smirk, gloated that there were no security cameras here, so no one would ever know if he beat Anran half to death. His foot lifted, ready to stomp, ready to continue his brutal assault. He kicked Anran repeatedly, a merciless barrage. But suddenly, the bully froze, a look of pure shock washing over his face. Out of nowhere, a figure in a red and white jacket delivered a powerful mid-air kick, sending the buzzcut bully flying with a loud kapow. The masked figure landed like a superhero, triumphantly exclaiming, "Yes!" After that killer kick, the buzzcut bully, battered and bleeding, struggled to get back on his feet, spitting a bit of blood. Who is there?" he gasped, shocked to see the masked figure in the distance. The buzzcut bully, wiping blood from his mouth, quickly assessed the masked figure, recognizing him as a trained fighter, and swore that now he had a clear view of his movements. But then, his eyes widened in utter shock. The masked figure had launched himself 2 meters into the air. "Is that a height? A human can even jump?" The bully shrieked. Thinking fast, the bully saw an opening, screaming, "He is wide open in midair. Eat this heavy punch." But the masked figure was faster, landing another powerful kick in midair, sending the bully flying again. The masked hero then landed perfectly, celebrating his perfect 2-hit combo. Flex on him. The masked figure quickly reached down and took Anran's hand. He then effortlessly scooped up the unconscious Anran, carrying him away, leaving the defeated bully slumped next to his red motorcycle. The buzzcut bully sat there in disbelief, muttering that he could not believe Anran had a helper. But his shock quickly turned to rage as he screamed, "You are dead when you come to school tomorrow." Later, Anran slowly regained consciousness in a dark warehouse, confused and bruised, asking his rescuer, "Wish, who are you? Why did you help me?" The masked figure then dramatically pulled off his mask and, get this, casually asked Anran for 300 to 500 bucks as a reward for saving his life. Talk about a payment plan. But as he looked closer at Anran, a flicker of confusion crossed his face, muttering, "Wait a minute, your face..." Then came the bombshell. "Why do you look so much like me?" Whoa, plot twist. Let us dive into the gritty world of Jujiang District, a forgotten junkyard of a city where the roads are falling apart and public transport is a nightmare. With zero surveillance and even less police presence, this lawless land is basically a villain's paradise, a breeding ground for crime. But amidst the chaos, whispers tell of a street hero, a teenager known as the Mad Dog, who punishes evil and can reportedly take on 100 dudes at once. They say once he is locked onto a target, he is like a rabid dog who just will not let go, which explains his fierce nickname. Even a cute little puppy is asking if some mister has never heard of this legendary figure. Apparently, this little guy journeyed all the way here, right to Old Jin's auto repair, just to become the Mad Dog's underling. Meanwhile, in an alley, a spiky-haired dude gets his motorcycle back from a bald mechanic. The mechanic then hits him with a whopping 700 bucks for a simple tire patch. Talk about a daylight robbery. Naturally, the dude screams, "I just got a tire patched. Should be 70 at most. Why do not you just rob me?" But the bald mechanic just stares, completely unfazed by the outburst. And just like that, our spiky-haired friend instantly recognizes the real threat, his face contorting in sheer terror. He quickly changes his tune, stammering out that he has transferred the money and just wants to take his bike, to which the mechanic casually replies, "Oh." Then, an intimidating bald and tattooed man orders the mechanic to wheel in the bike, asking about the kid. The mechanic calmly explains that the kid went out to make some extra cash. Suddenly, we are plunged into a high-octane chase, as a motorcycle headlight cuts through the night. A large gang on scooters and motorcycles are tearing through the streets, but their leader, a black-haired dude with a ponytail, is absolutely fuming, complaining that they cannot even catch their target on electric scooters, asking how this guy is running so fast. More gang members are in chaotic pursuit, but they just cannot keep up. That target? None other than our golden-haired hero, the Mad Dog himself, darting up a steep stone staircase at top speed. He even flashes a confident smirk, glancing back at his pursuers. What a flex. The hero continues his impressive speed run, effortlessly scaling a long, steep stone staircase. Below, a black-haired gang member on a scooter skids to a halt, totally cooked. Our golden-haired champ then sticks out his tongue, flips them the bird, fangs showing in a blatant act of mockery. He shouts, "Let us see how you idiots catch me now. Eat my tea, losers," as he runs up the stairs. But then, his expression shifts to a serious, focused gaze. The gang leader, fed up with the chase, shouts orders to his crew. "Get off your bikes and get him, boys." The gang continues their pursuit on foot across open ground, but then the golden-haired young man abruptly stops. He turns his back to them, facing the sunset, revealing his big brain move. "I lured you here on purpose." "Know why?" With a sly smirk, he explains, "To trick you into getting off your bikes. That way you will not have a chance to escape when the fight starts." The gang leader confronts him, heatedly pointing out that he is on their turf collecting protection money, still talking big despite their numbers, and mocking his Mad Dog nickname. As a Gale Gang member yells, "Get him," the gang makes their move, hinting at the violence about to unfold. Our golden-haired hero just grins, fangs showing, declaring that 20-something guys is the perfect amount for an appetizer. With a resounding enraged, he charges into the fray, red baseball bat swinging. He unleashes absolute chaos, fighting fiercely with the bat and taking down multiple assailants in a blink. Amidst the carnage, he confidently flexes, "You little scooter punks, I am a lot tougher than the rumors say." The battlefield is a chaotic flurry of UA, oof, ah, wah, as he absolutely cleans house. Soon enough, the black-haired gang leader is busted and bleeding on the ground. Our golden-haired champ stands over the pile of defeated men, totally unfazed, mocking their lack of a workout routine and their claim to rule Temple Street. He then demands they address him properly, and the terrified leader, stammering, quickly changes his tune from Mad Dog to Boss. Talk about a satisfying reality check. Next, our hero demands drinks as an apology for the chase. The defeated gang leader hesitantly asks, "H, how much is it, boss?" When he hears $10, he breathes a sigh of relief, only for the golden-haired guy to clarify. "1 bottle from each of you. I counted 24 of you, so let us round it down. Just give me 200. What a hustler." Grinning with satisfaction, our golden-haired hero stands on a grassy hill with a bottle in hand, feeling great about making another $200 today. But then his expression turns serious as he spots something in the grass. It is a nervous little cream puppy, looking up at him and making worried whimpers. Instantly, his tough exterior softens as he gently offers the pup some milk or a treat. The little dog looks up, focused and alert, accepting the kindness. He kneels down, gently interacting with the puppy, showing a side we rarely see. He looks out at the dilapidated Jujiang district, marked by a Jiu Jiang district border sign under the sunset. His determination clear, he vows, I am going to leave this hellhole one day. Once I save up enough money, I will go to the city and get old Ma's leg properly treated. He stands resolute against the backdrop of the rundown city, his dreams shining bright. Suddenly, his eyes light up, and he exclaims, "That is the HT University uniform." With a sly grin spreading across his face, he whispers, "I hit the jackpot." He chuckles to himself, anticipating a new score. He is clearly up to something. But then, his face twists into pure, unadulterated shock, sweat dripping down his brow. Crouching over an injured student wearing that same HT University uniform, he gasps, "No way, you look exactly like me." The mad dog just came face to face with his doppelganger. Anran screams, "Oh, oh, oh, oh," as his cheeks are brutally pinched, his face a painful mess of bruises and blood. Yansheng, completely freaking out, jumps back in shock, shouting, "Holy crap! This is way too freaky." Despite his brutal injuries, Anran stares ahead with a look of intense endurance. His eyes then widen with dawning realization as he looks up at Yansheng. This leads to the absolute bombshell question. "Could you be so, my older brother?" Yansheng's reaction is priceless, a simple, bewildered, "Huh?" as he sweats bullets, completely thrown off. In a flashback, Yansheng recalls his adoptive father, a gruff mechanic, explaining that he is not his biological dad, but found and raised him, laying down a strict rule. If you want to look for your real parents, wait until you are an adult. But until then, absolutely do not take a single step out of Jujiang District. Young Yansheng, ever the tough guy, just grinned back fiercely, declaring, "I do not care who my biological parents are. You raised me, so you are my real dad." What a loyal kid. Back in the present, Yansheng immediately tries to shut Anran down, turning his back and firmly stating, "You've got the wrong person." But Anran reveals his tragic backstory. They were twins, and his brother supposedly burned to death in a hospital fire right after we were born. He explains that the accident scene was reduced to ashes, so there was no way to confirm if you were really dead. Plot armor, much. Anran is clearly over the moon, grinning widely, convinced. "We are the same age and look exactly alike. You have to be my brother. This is great. Mom." But Yansheng delivers a cold dose of reality, facing away. "So what if I really am your brother? I have my own life and family now." He doubles down, telling Anran to go home. "Do not tell anyone you saw me. Just pretend I died in that fire." Yansheng emphasizes that he is doing fine and does not want anyone bothering him with his past. Anran, however, recalls his own grim family life, with a strict father and a mother confined to a wheelchair. This leads him to coldly agree with Yansheng's reluctance. "I guess it is for the best that you do not return to that awful home." Yansheng, thoroughly confused by Anran's dark comment, demands, "What are you mumbling about?" Anran quickly shifts gears, asking about Yansheng's fighting skills. "Did not you just save me for money? How well can you fight?" Yansheng confidently flexes, "I can take on 100 guys." "Why?" Anran then presents his tempting proposition, offering 1 million yuan if Yansheng will go to school in my place and deal with the people bullying me, showing his phone with a massive balance. Yansheng's posture indicates he is definitely processing that offer. His eyes practically turn into dollar signs as he exclaims, "Do rich kids really get this much allowance?" He even meticulously counts the zeros on the screen. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. He is so hyped he can barely believe it, excitedly asking, "Did you really mean what you just said?" "Boss." Anran, eager to seal the deal, offers 100,000 as a deposit, but Yansheng, trying to play it cool, acts all laid back. "That will not be necessary. I am a man of my word. You can just pay me after the job is done." He jokes. "It is just that taking 1 million from you feels like a scam. It'll only take 2 or 3 days to sort this out. 100,000 is more than enough for me. Classic underestimation right there." Anran, however, quickly sets him straight. "No, take the 1 million. and you definitely will not be able to finish it in 2 or 3 days. It'll take at least 3 months. He then drops the bomb, explaining that HT University is a lot more terrifying than you think, filled with rich and powerful, spoiled kids and even outside criminal syndicates. Anran continues his grave warning about the school's dangerous environment. The stakes are high, as Anran warns. If you do not handle this properly, you might even lose your life. Yansheng just bursts out laughing, utterly dismissive of the danger. What an absolute savage. Bruised as he is, he admits, "I have no idea what you are talking about. But if there is really $1,000,000 involved," he then confidently declares, placing a hand on Anran's chest, "Forget about criminal syndicates. Even if I run into a ghost, I will beat it until it submits." Talk about built different. Anran tries to add a crucial condition. Fighting openly in school can lead to expulsion if it is severe. Yansheng calmly counters with his own request. "My only request is that you do not get me disciplined. That is one of the difficult parts." He confidently winks, "Do not worry. I did not survive in this junkyard by just relying on my fists. I have my own ways of surviving." Now that is main character energy. With a confident smirk, he introduces himself. "I am Jin Yansheng." Anran, still battered, manages to return the introduction. I am Anran." With a celebratory fist bump, Yansheng seals the deal. "I will take the job of going to school for you." Just as everything seems settled, Yansheng has a sudden, horrified realization, recalling his adoptive father's stern warning. "If you take a single step out of Jujiang District before you turn 20, do not ever come back." He clutches his head, screaming, "Ah! Ah! I completely forgot about that." Anran, naturally, is utterly confused and asks, What is wrong?" But Yansheng, ever the schemer, instantly snaps to a new plan, grabbing Anran by the shoulders with a grin. "I have got it. You have to do me a favor." Anran just looks baffled. He then hits Anran with the bold proposal. "Let us swap identities. You have to pretend to be me and live here. Big brain move, or pure chaos." Anran looks around at Yansheng's new home, which turns out to be a grimy, blood-stained warehouse littered with used syringes. Yikes. Yansheng, completely unfazed, slings an arm around Anran, confidently reassuring him, "Do not worry, you can pretty much walk around like you own the place here. Nobody will dare mess with you." It is settled then, he starts to add, but then quickly pivots into false concern. "Relax, you are my boss after all. There is no way I would joke around with my boss's safety." As they walk, Anran suddenly trips and takes a painful fall. Yansheng, looking down at his new boss, asks, "What happened?" A close-up reveals Anran's severely bruised and swollen knee, a clearly painful injury. Poor guy cannot catch a break. Yansheng, playing doctor, calmly diagnoses. "Thank goodness it is not a full fracture. It is probably just a hairline fracture. You should be fine after a month or 2 of bed rest." He then sees another opportunity, grinning cunningly. "This makes things even easier. You can recover at my place. I get injured all the time anyway. My adoptive father, Old Jin, will not suspect a thing." Anran, worried about his swollen knee, cautiously asks, "It is so swollen. Are you sure I do not need to go to the hospital?" Yansheng dismisses his concern. "Do not be such a baby. I promise you'll be fine." He then takes charge, offering, "Come on, I will carry you on my back. Everyone around here knows me, so we'll head to the city first. We'll get you a new haircut first. I will deduct the cost from my pay. After that, we'll find a place to properly discuss our situations, so we do not slip up and blow our cover. This dude is built different." Fast forward to HT University, a grand elite school building under a bright blue sky. Students in uniform stream through the gates, heading into their daily grind at the prestigious academy. Disguised as Anran, Yansheng struts into the campus, adjusting his new glasses with a sly grin as he thinks, "So this is HT University, the legendary elite school." His internal monologue switches to pure excitement, ecstatically visualizing money raining down. 1,000,000 yuan. Here I come. Get that bag, king. He is practically skipping through the schoolyard, wide-mouthed and excited, already living his dream. Meanwhile, a group of bullies is already on the prowl, with one peeking from behind a pillar asking their boss, "Boss, who are we waiting for?" The short-haired bully aggressively confronts a frightened soccer player, demanding, "Hey, kid, hand over that soccer ball." He taunts the player, asking, "Are not you the star player of the soccer club?" as the ball floats menacingly. The bald-headed ringleader points directly at Yansheng, commanding his accomplice, "Do you see that Anran kid? Aim for his head and kick it as hard as you can. Oh, it is about to go down." Instantly, as the soccer ball hurtles towards Yansheng, he executes an incredible flip, kicking it back with superhuman force, smashing right into one of the bullies. Yansheng lands gracefully, then perfectly feigns shock, exclaiming, "B-boss, what an actor." The golden-haired bully is furious, screaming at the kid who kicked the ball. "Get lost." Through his glasses, Yansheng zeroes in on him, thinking, "It is the guy who bullied Anran yesterday. My prime target has appeared." He rushes over, playing the innocent victim. I am sorry, Ming Hao. I have been playing soccer since I was a kid, so that was pure reflex. You are not hurt, are you?" Other students immediately pull out their phones, ready to record the inevitable drama. Get that content. One student watches with a smirk, anticipating. This is going to be fun to watch. The bullies are not amused. The black-haired one challenges Yansheng. "Meet me on the rooftop during the break," while the golden-haired bully threatens, "You are in big trouble now, Anran." Yansheng just adjusts his glasses, a cunning smirk spreading across his face, clearly relishing the challenge. "The hunting game begins now," he declares. "Let the games begin." The scene dramatically shifts to a desolate city at sunset, where Yansheng asks Old Jin what he'd want most if he ever struck it rich. But Old Jin, kicking back casually, just replies that he does not need a thing, making Yansheng challenge him back, asking if he seriously doubts his ability to rake in the big bucks. Old Jin then hits him with the ultimate dad joke, quipping that he'd be grateful if Yansheng just stopped getting into trouble, leaving Yansheng utterly speechless and standing there in silence. Old Jin, however, gives Yansheng a knowing, serious look. He then casually scratches his leg, seemingly unbothered. It is a subtle moment, but we can clearly see he is adjusting a prosthetic leg. Yansheng, with a knowing smirk, then seems to drift off, perhaps thinking of a memory. Two children playing together under a soft, setting sun. And just like that, we are snapped back to reality, inside the pristine halls of the school. Yansheng is absolutely speed-running up the school stairs. He has got a confident grin, fantasizing about how $1 million would not only completely heal his dad's legs, but also help him regain his former glory. Talk about some serious ambition. He grabs the doorknob with determination, yelling internally, "Here I come, 1 million." But as he peeks through the door, his confident smirk turns into a terrified expression. Uh-oh. Despite his fear, Yansheng tentatively approaches the three bullies. One of the short-haired bullies immediately goes on the offensive, demanding to know who kicked him twice yesterday and threatening serious consequences if he does not bring the culprit after school. Yansheng tries to de-escalate the situation, asking if they can just get along peacefully since they are classmates. But the shaved-head bully just smirks, flat out saying school is boring without bullying to entertain them. That is some villain logic right there. Yansheng then bravely retorts, "What if I do not tell you? Are you really going to hit me here? Are not you afraid the school will find out?" The shaved-head bully just laughs, calling Yansheng an idiot and pointing out there are no security cameras on the rooftop, so he cannot snitch. "Big mistake, dude." Yansheng's eyes gleam behind his glasses, a cunning smirk returning as he innocently confirms. "So there are not any security cameras here? Oh, you know what is coming next?" The shaved-head bully stares back, totally clueless about the trap he just walked into. Instantly, Yansheng pulls out a red fly swatter, ready to rumble. What a weapon of choice. The shaved-head bully, utterly bewildered, mockingly asks if Yansheng got beaten stupid and what he plans to do with that thing. Yansheng, now flexing his main character energy, smirks, claiming he was worried his fists would hit too hard, and this fly swatter would let him play with them longer. Savage. The short-haired bully, teeth gritted, angrily questions if Yansheng's sudden arrogance comes from having someone protect him. Enraged, the shaved-head bully screams for his two cronies to get him. But Yansheng is already in motion, stomping his foot with unexpected force. His eyes glow with intense focus as he dodges an attack, simultaneously striking back with such speed it creates a shockwave. What a combo. Two of the bullies instantly react with shocked, angry expressions, red marks already appearing on their faces. They truly got cooked. They scream in agony, clutching their faces and recoiling from the surprise attack. The shaved-head bully watches, a mix of thought and disbelief washing over his face. The short-haired bully, refusing to back down, unleashes a furious punch, shouting, "How dare a piece of trash like you fight back?" Too bad for him. Yansheng effortlessly ducks and delivers a satisfying smack to his face with the fly swatter, sending his head snapping back. Yansheng is an absolute menace, raining down blows with the fly swatter, yelling, "Here, eat this, and this, and this too." Talk about a beatdown. Just then, two other bullies launch a coordinated attack, yelling as they throw powerful punches. But Yansheng is built different. He leaps up, kicking the two approaching bullies behind him, while still managing to connect with the fly swatter on the shaved head bully in front, multitasking like a boss. One of the bullies is now on his knees, trembling, face bruised, and utterly terrified. He glares at Yansheng like a cornered, rabid dog, but it is clear who is winning this fight. Yansheng, after thoroughly dealing with the bullies, revealed he'd always been a skilled fighter, but had to hide his strength because he'd promised his family he would not cause any trouble. Talk about keeping secrets. But, he explained, they just kept bullying him over and over, and he simply could not take it anymore. We've all been there, right? He then dropped a chilling warning, telling them they'd better stay out of his way from now on, or he'd be using his fists next time. Major main character energy right there. To really seal the deal, Yansheng mentioned he almost beat someone to death back in middle school, which is why he'd been keeping such a low profile until now. What a backstory. One of the bald bullies, still reeling from the beatdown, wondered if this guy was actually telling the truth. The fear was palpable. His head still spinning, the bald bully mumbled how dizzy he felt, while his panicked henchmen shouted for their boss. Looks like Yansheng's methods were super effective. Later, Yansheng smirked to himself, thinking his dramatic story about almost killing someone was a load of crap, but it should be enough to bluff them into leaving him alone. Big brain move. Meanwhile, the bald bully slowly came to, eyes fluttering open in what looked like the school infirmary. Ouch. He immediately groaned, complaining that his face hurt so much, before his expression twisted into a determined, furious glare. Seeing his subordinates, he snapped, asking what they were doing and ordering them to gather more guys, clearly ready for round 2. But then, an ominous voice cut through the air, asking if they were trying to embarrass themselves even further. The bald bully stammered, recognizing a higher authority as a purple-haired boss, who chastised him for not even being able to keep his own classmates in line and making the freshmen look bad. Someone's about to get cooked. The purple-haired boss was absolutely fuming, declaring that getting beaten to a pulp by some nameless nobody really pissed him off. Big boss, bigger ego. And just to show he meant business, this boss was casually holding another one of his guys upside down by the foot, asking how he should punish him. The bald bully, utterly terrified, desperately begged for one more chance, promising he'd deliver. The purple-haired boss calmly told him patience should focus on recovering, then extended his hand with a chillingly polite request. You already know what is coming next. With a sinister smirk, he warned the bully to cover his mouth tightly, because if he made even a peep, he'd be punished again. Absolute savage. And just like that, the bully, eyes wide with terror, clamped his hand over his mouth. Next thing we know, the purple-haired boss casually snapped the bully's finger. Still holding his mouth shut, the bully's face was drenched in sweat, desperately trying to stifle his screams of agony. That is a brutal reality check. The purple-haired boss then coolly dismissed him, telling him to go home and rest up for a while, making it sound more like a threat than compassion. He then mused aloud about Anran, admitting he'd never even heard of him. This is Yansheng's alias, so the boss is unaware who he is really targeting. With a devious smile, he decided he should go meet him, himself. This confrontation is going to be epic. Meanwhile, back at HT University, the school day wrapped up. A driver frantically waved and called out, "Young master, young master." Yansheng, now fully in disguise as Anran, observed the approaching driver, realizing this must be the one Anran had mentioned. The driver expressed immense relief, admitting he'd lied to the boss, saying Yansheng, who was actually Anran, was at a friend's house. Yansheng, ever the smooth operator, simply shrugged it off as a childish tantrum, and decided it was time to head home. The driver, ever the professional, bowed and opened the door to a luxurious car for Yansheng. Yansheng's inner fanboy came out with a massive whoa, a Rolls-Royce, before he quickly regained his composure, pushing up his glasses. Living the dream. Huh? He thought to himself, how freaking awesome it was to pretend to be rich. Gotta love the hustle. Suddenly, Yansheng remembered he almost forgot to report in. Pulling out his phone, in a text exchange, Anran, the real one, using a blonde avatar, reported he took care of the punk. Yansheng, using a black cat avatar, warned him about a bigger boss, but Anran confidently replied he'd beat him all down. Anran is built different. Yansheng then warned Anran about his strained relationship with his father, instructing him not to say anything stupid. Anran asked about Yansheng's situation, and he replied that his adoptive father, Old Jin, had not even asked about his injuries. Yikes, family drama. Anran responded, telling Yansheng he should stay in his room and recover, adding that he was almost at Yansheng's house. What a good guy. Cut to the real Anran, now disguised as Yansheng, lying on a bed in Yansheng's room, scrolling on his phone. Anran stood in front of Yansheng's room, utterly shocked by its tiny, gloomy appearance, wondering how his twin brother could live in such harsh conditions. Talk about a reality check. Then, a giant cockroach casually crawled onto Anran's outstretched hand, sealing the deal on the harsh conditions. Assessment. Instantly, Anran let out a blood-curdling scream, flailing on the bed in pure horror. Not so tough now, are we? Someone outside, Old Jin, knocked on the door, asking Yansheng, aka Anran, what was wrong. Clearly alarmed by the scream, Anran quickly stuttered a lie, saying it was nothing, he just accidentally bumped his leg. Old Jin simply told him food was outside and to eat, then left. Anran quickly agreed, just wanting him to go away. Once Old Jin was gone, Anran let out a huge sigh of relief, wiping sweat from his brow. Close call. Still holding his phone, Anran started pondering Yansheng's name, wondering if it meant reborn from the fire. Deep thoughts for a cockroach encounter. He looked at a picture on his phone of Old Jin carrying a young boy, questioning why Old Jin would hide Yansheng instead of contacting the police if he truly saved him. The plot thickens.